Hey everyone, welcome back to the Power BI series. In this video, we are stepping into one of the most powerful areas of Power BI, the Power Query Editor. Today, we will start exploring the Home tab, the control center of the data transformation. I will walk you through some key options and features. First, let's try to load our data in our Power BI desktop. How can you load the data? Using the Power BI connectors. We have seen few connectors in our previous video. So I will try to get the data from my Excel workbook. I will click on the open. Now you will be able to see this navigator pane. So this is the name of the workbook, employee attendance, and this is the sheet which is present in that workbook. So you on the right side you will be able to see the preview of the data. Unless and until you click on this checkbox, this load and transform data option won't be getting enabled. So I will click on this option. You will be able to see the load and the transform data option are now getting enabled. If you click on the load, then this particular data that you are seeing, that data will be loaded in your Power BI desktop. Whereas if you click on the transform data, the same data will be redirected to Power Query Editor for the data transformation. So now I will click on the transform data. Now the Power Query Editor window got opened. This is the interface of a Power Query Editor. On the top, you will be able to see the name of the file. This is the Power Query Editor window. Then these are the few tabs, and inside each tab, respective functionalities are present. So currently we are focusing on the Home tab. Here on the left side, you will be able to see all your queries or the tables that you have imported. So as of now, we have just imported only a single table, right? So you are able to see the one query over here. In this particular middle section, at the top, you will be able to see this formula bar. So inside this formula bar, there is a special code is written, and that code is called as M code. So that is the code that Power Query internally uses to perform the data transformations. Below that formula bar, you will be able to see your actual data which is present in your employee table. So these are the few columns: employee ID, name, department, date, check-in, check-out, and hours worked. So this is the data that I am having with me. Now on the right side, you will be able to see the query settings pane. This is the name of your query, and these are the applied steps that are applied on this particular query. So whenever you perform any kind of transformation, any kind of operation, you will be able to see that step recorded on the right side in this applied steps section. So we'll start exploring this query. In the Power Query Editor also, you can import the data. How can you import the data? In the Home tab itself, there is option to connect to the multiple data sources. So I will click on this new source option, and I will now import a CSV file. So I want to import this orders workbook, and it is a CSV file. So I will click on that, and I will click on the open option. Now, this is the preview of that file. This is the CSV file, and I will click on OK now. Now this orders query is now loaded. Now in my Power Query Editor, there are two queries, that is two tables I am having with me. When you click on any table, respective to that table, you will be able to see the data in this particular section. Now there are few options. We'll try to explore those options. So the first option in the Home tab is close and apply. So if you click on this particular option, the three options are present over there: close and apply, apply and close. So what does that mean is, if you click on close and apply, whatever the transformations that you have applied, that will be loaded into your Power BI desktop, and this Power Query Editor window will be getting closed. If you click on applied, then whatever the changes that you have applied, those will be applied to your Power BI desktop, but this query editor will be remain open. And if you click on the close option, then this Power Query Editor window will be getting closed, and your Power Query desktop will ask you whether you want to apply the changes or you want to discard the changes. So the best practice would be clicking on this particular option called close and apply. So whatever the changes, whatever the transformations that you have done, that will be loaded in your Power BI desktop itself. So I will click on this close and apply option. Now you will be able to see these two tables loaded into my Power BI desktop. So I will click on this option now. It is loading these two tables, these two queries. And in the data section now, you will be able to see those two tables. This is the EMP table and this is my orders table. But in the report view, you are not able to see actual data present, right? So for that, you have to change your view to the table view. And then you can click on the respective table for which you want to see the data. You can click on that and you will be able to see the data. Now, if I want to go to Power Query Editor again, then how can I go to Power Query Editor is that you can be present in any of the view, that is report view, table view, or this model view. In the home tab, there is option called as a transform data. So if you click on this particular transform data option, you will be redirected to Power Query Editor. So I will click on this option and I will be redirected to Power Query Editor. Now we'll explore the other options. Now we have explored the first two options. Now what is the recent sources option? Whatever the recently used data or recently used data sources that you have used to connect your data to this Power BI desktop, that will be listed over here. Okay. Then this is option called as enter data. So this option is will help you to create a static table inside your Power Query editor. So I will click on this option now. Then you will be able to see this particular dialog box. Here you can name your table. So I will rename the table as a sample data. And in that particular table called sample data, I want two columns called as a name and age. In the name, I will provide some random names. I will enter data over here manually. And I will click on OK. So what it will do is it will create a table called as sample data, and that particular table will be having two columns, name column and age column, and this is the data that will be present in that table. So I will click on OK now. Now you will be able to see that data sample data table got loaded and we have now three queries with us, that is three tables with us. And if you want to rename any particular table, you can double click on that query name. And another option is that on the right side in this query settings option, here also you will be able to rename your query, rename your table. Now there is a next option called as a data source setting. So it is option related to if your data source that you have connected, if that particular data source changes, then you can examine this particular option. Now next option is the parameters. So what is the use of the parameters? So before that, let me give you one scenario. So this is my EMP table, right? So what I want to do is I want to just filter the record for the department called HR. So you will say that you will be able to filter that records. How you can filter records? You can click on this arrow icon next to the column name. Click on that. Then you will be able to filter the department HR. I will click on OK now. So you have filtered the records manually, right? So it is possible. This is one of the data transformation that I have applied. I have filtered my rows. On the right side, you will be able to see that filtered rows applied step got created. But I have done this manually. What if I want to do this dynamically? I don't want to every time go here and change this particular department to any other department. So in that case, I will go for parameters. So what parameters will help me? It will help me to filter my particular data dynamically. So how can you create a parameter? So click on this drop down, click on the new parameter option, then give the name to your parameter. So I will give the parameter name as a DEPT, short form for department. Then I will keep the setting as required. Then the data type of that particular parameter will be text, because the departments are present in the textual form, right? So I will change its data type to text. And in the suggested values, I will click on the list of the values and I will add here the list of the department for which I want to filter my EMP table. So here I will write HR, the departments that are present in my table, then sales, then finance. Okay, so I have entered the list of the values over here and you have to check the default value. You can select it over here. Also, you have to set the current value because this is a required value. Okay, so now what it will do is it will create a parameter named as a DEPT. It is of type text and these are the list of the values that will be present in that parameter. And the default value is set to HR and the current value is set to sales. I will click on OK now. Now on the left side in the query section, you will be able to see that department parameter. Okay, and its current value is set to sales. But if you go over your EMP table, you will be not able to see that particular sales department. This particular data is not filtered for the sales department. Why so? Because we have not connected our parameter and this table. Okay, so how can you connect that? This is the column on which I want to filter the records, right? So what I will do is I will click on this icon next to the column name. Then I will click on the text filters. Here you have to click equals option. Now you will be able to see this pop up. So what it is telling is you have to filter the rows and you have to choose the basic option or the advanced option. So for now focus on the basic options. So what we are trying to do over here is I want to filter the rows where the department name is equal to whatever the value that I will specify over here. So I can manually type also over here, but I want it dynamically happen. So what I will do is I will select the parameter and it will select the parameter that we have already created, DEPT, because there is no other parameter present over here, so it has selected this department parameter by default. So what are we trying to do over here is we are trying to filter out the rows where the department is equal to the parameter, and that parameter will be having some value, right? So based on that value which is present in that parameter, this rows will get filtered. Okay, so I will click on OK now. So you will be able to see that the data EMP table in the data in that EMP table got filtered for the sales department. Why so? Because we have set its current value to sales. So if I try to change its value to some other department, let's say HR, and I will go to my EMP table back again. Now you will be able to see the records got filtered for the department HR. So this is the use of a parameters to dynamically filter out your data. So I hope you are now clear with this manage parameter options. Now there is a next option called as a refresh preview. So if you click on this drop down, you will be able to see these three options. So refresh preview, refresh all and cancel refresh. So cancel refresh is to just cancel the refresh process that you are performing. Refresh preview and refresh all are of our use now. Refresh preview, what it will do is it will try to refresh the selected query, and refresh all will refresh all the queries. Okay, so I will give you the demo for that. So first I will cross out this particular step that we have applied. So how can you cross out any step? If I want to go back to this particular step, let's say change type, then I have to first cross out this step, and it is also possible. You have to just click on this cross icon. Okay, now you will go back to our original data that you were having. Now I have this particular file, employee attendance file opened with me, and we have imported that from Excel workbook, right? So what I want to do is, what if I want to change its the name of that employee got changed, and let's say its employee name is now updated to employee 333, but this is the change that we have done in our Excel file, right? But this change is will not be reflected in inside your Power BI desktop, inside your Power Query editor, unless and until you refresh that query, unless and until you refresh that connection. So how it is possible is that if your data got updated in your data source, then you will first have to save it. So here I will save this Excel file that I am having, and after that I will go to my Power Query editor, and here you have to select that particular query for which you want to refresh your data. So I will click on refresh preview option. So focus over here employee 3. This name will be updated to employee 333. Okay. So I will click on refresh preview option now. Now you will be able to get the updated data. So to get updated data, to fetch the updated data from your data source, you will need this refresh option. So refresh preview will help you to refresh the selected query, and refresh all will refresh all the queries that you are having with you. Then there is option called as properties. So if you click on that, you will be able to get this dialog box, and it is telling you that the name of that particular table or the query that you are having with you, and the description. If you want to provide any kind of description to this particular query, you can write it over here. And there are two options: enable load to report and include in report refresh. So if I uncheck this option, then this particular query called EMP will not be loaded, will not be seen in your Power BI desktop. I will show you that. So I will click on OK over here, and I want to apply these changes to my desktop, and I want to close this Power Query editor. So I will use this option called close and apply. So here on the right side, just focus. You will be only able to see the two tables. You are not able to see the EMP table because I have disabled its load. So how can you enable its load again? For that you have to go to Power Query Editor again. And how can you go to Power Query Editor? In the transform data, click on that option. You will be redirected to Power Query Editor. Here, if you want to see this table again, then you have to enable its load. How can you enable its load? You can either click on this properties option, and you can check this icon, these two check boxes. Otherwise, what you can do is you can right click on the query and you can enable its load. Now I will again click on close and apply. Now on the right side, you will be able to see the EMP table again. So that is the use of the enable load option. Then there is option called as advanced editor. So what is that option is that if I click on the advanced editor option, then whatever the query that you have selected, for that query, you will be able to see the M code. This code is called as M code. So this advanced editor in the Power Query will help you to write and edit the custom M code for the complex data transformations. And there are two blocks over here, let block and in block. So this let block will define the variables, calculations and the transformations inside these variables. So this source EMP sheet, these are my variables, and this is the M code that is stored in that particular variables. And this in block will help you to specify the output or the result of the query. So this is the last step, is going to be the result of my query. So it is written in this in block. I will click on the done option. So these are the some of the basic options in the home tab of a Power Query editor. This wraps up the first part of our Power Query editor. In the next part, we will continue exploring more options in the home tab of Power Query editor. If you are learning something new, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the upcoming videos in the series. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.